Hello everyone, I'm Amber Johnson, Fractional Industrial Engineer from Future Profitability. Today we're going to do a walkthrough of the I'm Wild About Harry Seiders MECC March case. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm also wild about Harry Seiders. My style of competition is rough and rowdy. We're trying to get as much done as soon as possible. These aren't going to be the most sophisticated techniques, but it's going to get the job done. So let's dive in. We're going to go back to the bonuses afterwards, and I am going to take some creative liberties and assume that you have already taken this case. So the key thing about each of these levels is we need to get down to the bones of what are they actually asking you to do, because a lot of the times these guys are a little tricky about how the way they answer these, create these questions. So level 1, how many apples are in each row? You can read all this stuff, but we're just going to go, how many apples are in each row? So I move over, make some space, and I use the length function, so len, reference the text. And now you'll see that says 32. At quick reference, you can see that this is not 32 individual icons. And in the pretext, it does tell you that the character itself is representing 2 characters. So you divide that by 2. You drag it down, and you can see that 16 matches the original. Reference your answer. Voila. Level 1 done. Just like that. Level 2. How many apples contain a worm? Then you look for context. Okay. Apples with a worm designated as a W. That's all the information we really need to know here. Now with this, this is broken down into 2 key parts. You need to separate all the letters themselves, which we will do with a mid. I think there's better ways to do this with split text, but guess what? I don't remember right now. And in the heat of competition, do what you know. So the starting number is going to be a sequence starting with 1. There's only 1 row because you want it to spill in the columns. And then you want to spill as many letters as there are. And then you want to start it at 1. You want to step by 1. Okay, silly me. All right, let it loose. Get it wrong 6 times, get it right the 5th. That's fine. All right, so basically, you just need to spill all those letters. And there's space right here, because I don't want to go scroll all the way to the end. So basically, from all of this spilled range, throw a pound sign on it. In all of that, I want to look for where it says W. Fabulous. All right. Reference back. Number 2. Complete. I'm going to stop snapping. That's a bit much for me. Okay. But really, that can be broken down into 2 very simple steps. Break it up. Count what you need. You don't need all the other context. All right, number 3, let's get cooking. Tell the key information. It's already bolded for you. Tell Harry how many apples he receives each harvest. Okay, we got B's and P's. No idea what that means. Let's find out. A P, and then I like to write out the critical information for myself. So P equals 1 peck, whatever that is. And then B equals 1 bushel. Okay, that still tells me nothing. A peck contains 36 apples. So 36. And then a bushel is 4 pecks. Again, no idea what that is. But we know that that has 4 times as many as that. So what we've established is bushel, 144, peck, 36. Okay, back to the original question. Tell Harry how many apples he receives each harvest. Again, we need to split up some text. We need to associate what each is. So with this, we first need, the nice thing is this has a very clear delimiter, so we can do text split, reference the text. We're going to be splitting by the very clearly marked semicolon. Let it loose. There, we have split. We love. Okay, now each of these things needs to represent how many apples are happening. So I'm going to give myself some space. I want to say my B's and my P's. COUNTIFS in this range. My criteria is B. So I want to see how many B's and how many P's. Okay, I've got... Oh, when I moved it, it didn't hold the pound sign. Okay. Referencing dynamically, we love. All right, so now I've got my B's and my P's. But the thing is, I still don't know how many apples that is. So I know B's are going to be 144 apples and P's are going to be 36. So the nice thing is I can now do, I like using this inner area because I hate scrolling all the way to the end. So we're going to do a sum product of these items against these items. And we'll lock the top. Excellent. I always like starting with the example just to make sure that my logic is correct and then just copy and paste that down. The nice thing, it worked. Fabulous. Okay. Moving on to number 4. So, starting with the bold section, if Harry does not make partial batches, how many cinnamon sticks must he purchase to make as many batches as possible with each harvest? Okay. Again, new character has joined the plot, cinnamon sticks. So we're going to say cinnamon sticks. What do we need to know about it? Well, in the cider batches, one recipe calls for 10 apples. So batch is apples, 10. Cinnamon sticks, okay, 4. So that's one batch, batch 1. Okay. If he doesn't have partial batches. So then I'm looking at what the harvest yield is and I'm like, this is a format that I'm not familiar with. So let's go for it. The harvest is first it's B, then it's P. Okay. So first we need to, we already have some information about our B's and our P's. So let's bring them back. Stunning. We don't need the ones. Okay. So we need to split out our B's and P's. So let's start there. B, P. Now this, if you take a quick scan, yes, you could do some variable number of whatever, of text before, text after, but there's 2 of the semicolons. So I mean, go back to basics, left. There's always going to be 2 digits, apparently, from this data set. So go for it, right? Now, the thing about using left and right is that it's actually going to return a text value. So you just have to put value around it. That becomes a number, becomes important later. All right, we've got our B's and our P's. Now, each of these things needs to be multiplied by how many apples they have. So B's are going to give us 144. That's new. We're going to make that back into a number. Strange things happen. And then P times 36. Again, that is a very weird number format. None of my business. Okay. Now we're going to go total apples. Sum of the 2 of them. I think there's a more sophisticated way to do that. None of my business. Superb. Okay, we have total apples. Now what we need to do is see how many batches we can get from apples. But we need to remember that we can't do partial batches. So this divided by 10. We've got partials. So we need to round down to 0 digits. Stunning. Now for this many batches, cinnamon sticks, no time to write the whole thing. This times 4. Fabulous. Whoops. That times 4. Perfect. We love. All right, let's keep ripping. All right, level 5. the first thing that jumps out to me, compute the price of each order listed. Okay, we're incorporating new data. Let's go for it. We've got the order numbers, and he charges a fixed price. So let me pull out the information that might be helpful. Fixed price, $12.50. Per order that includes up to 5,000 servings of cider. Servings, 5,000. He charges 10 cents. The surcharge after 5,000 is 10 cents. Okay. So he wants to know the price of all of this. So let's go familiarize ourselves with the customer order data. Okay, first things first, if this is not already a table, just Control T, make that a table, and then name it something useful. So like we're gonna say just CUST. You don't need it. You need to know what it means. I don't need to know what it means. But we've got order numbers, customer IDs, order dates, and servings. Okay, cool. We already know the order number, so we just need to understand how many servings there were and then do some math. We love math. All right. For this, I'll probably do an XLOOKUP just to see what the individual order, and I'm assuming there's not duplicate orders, and if it is, it'll spill like an array. We're going to look up the order number in CUST tab, put a bracket, you're looking for order number, and then we're going to return servings. If not found, let me know, NA, and then if I want it to be an exact match. Okay. Servings. So then basically we need to understand, is it more or less than 5,000? So this minus 5,000, easy enough. And then if we're going to do an if statement, if this is over 0, then we're going to do $12.50 plus this times 0.10 cents. If not, we're just going to charge the $12.50. And it looks like they round answers to the nearest dollar. Okay. So I think if we do a flat round, it'll work. I don't know if it really cares about rounding up or down. Okay. Perfect. Easy peasy. An XLOOKUP, some basic if statements. We've got our puppy banjo. All right. We're cruising, guys. Okay. Level 6. Bold. Compute the total number of servings ordered on each date listed. Okay. I think we're going to follow a similar method, but the difference is with these dates is there might be multiple orders on the same day. So we're, instead of an XLOOKUP, I'm actually going to use a SUMIF. I love SUMIFs. We're just going to go for it. Cool. Okay, let's do it. Equals SUMIFs. We're going to sum the customer table on servings with the criteria of customer order date equaling that. Ah, easy peasy, guys. Chump change. We're past it. We're too good. Maybe zoom in so you guys can see. Okay, level 7. Dun, dun, dun. We're at the end. Get ready. Okay, now this one you have to use a customer map, and anytime I see a map I immediately clam up and my heart starts racing and I'm like, oh my gosh, Bear Island all over again. Don't even worry. You got to look at what they're actually asking you for. So Harry ships, well, let's actually start with the bold part. Tell Harry each customer's row number as depicted in the red cells on column A of the customer map. Easy peasy. Let's find out. So the thing is, the way that with all of that information, we'll see that the customer map says CUST 12, CUST 13, CUST it has that, versus the data that we're given is customer number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So to get them to match, let's do a little bit of math. Or, well, we're not doing math. No, sir. Okay. So in each of these, I took a kind of strange approach to this, and I think other people are going to have much better things to say. But I'm just going to say customer, and I'm going to do CONCAT because I want it to get it all in one column, because I don't want to have to mess around with trying to find where it lives and all this stuff. So in this, we're able to find all sorts of stuff. Now, there is something to watch out. So when you do things like this, now we see that there's 2 customers in this row. We'll handle that later. So we want to pull out just the customer number. So TEXTAFTER CUST. And of course, you're going to get a lot of errors. None of our business. We're going to throw a filter on that, and then we're going to filter all the errors, because guess who cares? Not me. So what we're left with is all of these. And so I'm going to get my row numbers closer. Row equals, there we go. And then I'm tired of looking at this map, so I'm just going to take this and I'm going to go paste it over here. And technically, well, let's separate out the ones that have 2. So let's make this a 10 and this make 3. And then this one will be a 20 and this one will be a 1. Okay, so let's make these all numbers. I don't think it matters, but okay. Now let's sort smallest to largest. Okay, and I think those are all in the same order all the way through 20. So I think, let's go check the answers. I'm like mildly cheating on this one, but I think there was something issue with the back end. Yes. Okay, so although it looks like I'm wrong, I'm actually right. Now, in circumstances that you're in actual battle, it's good to check to make sure that these are actually formatted as text or formatted as a number value. So in the situation here, what I might do, just for, triple checking, is I'll do the value of that. And if it's looking for a text instead, what I'll do is, check the other way. Text columns. Let's just give it a try while we're here. Oh, I'm being silly. Let's just give this a whack, make it a text. Okay, it was looking for text. So sometimes it just is kind of goofy that way, but regardless, we got to the same answer. All right, quick editor's note. This morning when I did the walkthrough, I forgot to do the bonuses. And much like in the heat of battle, it's good to check your answers. So we're now going to go through the bonuses. All right, so the key thing, again, to remind everyone, including myself, what is it actually asking you? A lot of the times the bonuses are going to trip you up and ask you a little goofy derivation of how they're going to ask the question. I don't think that was English, but okay. Suppose each peck contains 36 apples. If 4 pecks makes up a bushel, which we know, how many complete bushels of apples are there in level 1? This is a really key point, which is the complete. And now they're not bolding things because these are the bonuses. So let's go look at level 1. Let's sum up our apples. There's 902, that divided by the 144 in a bushel. Now let's remember they said complete, so 6.22 would be 6.26 would be a wrong answer. So round down this to 0 digits. 6 is our answer. So let's throw that in. Stunning. All right. Next thing is how many total worms did you find in level 2? In this, we'll go back to what we've already done. We've already got our COUNTIFs on the worms, so let's sum up equals sum of our worms, 145. Stunning. Okay. What is the total revenue from all orders submitted before January 25th? Now, if I would have set up my question number 5 better, I would have already had this in the table, but when you're cooking, you don't realize that you need different derivations. So we're going to go back and we're going to take this logic and add it to our table. So we're going to start with over under 5,000. So same logic. So equals the servings minus 5,000. And then you're also going to put your if statement, so your revenue. And that is using this logic of the rounded version of the over 1250. So instead of I4, you'll just replace it with the other column, and it'll calculate your revenue and spill forward. So the other thing is it's asking for, it's asking for the total revenue before January. So we're just going to throw a pivot table in. I don't see a lot of other competitors using pivot tables, but I think they're underutilized. We're going to go to the order date and the revenue. And then what you'll see is in 2024, 66,000. And then let's see if it's right. Bingo, 66,582. Okay. The next question, and I think this was the trickiest question, was what is the largest number of orders? Keywords, number of orders received by a single customer. Now we've already just built the pivot table, so let's just do another one. So now we don't care about the order dates. Let's get that out of there. We don't care about revenue. We're looking at number of orders. Number of orders, so the count of the order number by customer. And then let's sort that customer information. And I'm realizing you can't see my drop downs. Let me figure that out. Nope, we're just going to keep rolling. Okay, you're going to sort descending by the count of the orders. And that's where we're finding out that customer 17 had 11 orders. Now, let's go back and remember, it's not asking who was the biggest, which customer had the biggest orders. It was asking what is the largest number of orders, which we see is 11. Perfect. All right. The last question is asking how many cells in the Excel state are not occupied by Harry or any of the customers. So the nice thing about this is it's just a little mental math. So we've got, if you highlight all of these cells, at the bottom it says the count is 25 and the number of rows is 50. So equals 50 times 25. So there's 1250 number of cells on this map. Now he also said that it's customers and Harry. So if we do a quick filter on how many customers we had, if you don't remember, we're going to filter out the blanks. We had 20 customers. So, but there was customers 0 through 20 and Harry. So really we've got 22 people. So realistically equals 1250 minus the 21 customers minus Harry is 1228. Voila. So I think the most tricky things, a lot of the times they'll use the bonuses as a place to kind of trip you up with the vocabulary. But if you really recenter yourself on what are they truly asking me and am I answering that question, you're going to save yourself some time. But thanks so much for listening to me for the last half hour. I hope you learned something, and if there's any questions, I'm more than welcome to help. But congrats for being done.